Okay,
All
welcome.
right, welcome to Can We Talk, the R&B podcast
Yes,
featuring Namdi and myself, Omar.
yes. How's it going? How's it going?
Everything's great. I hope everybody in the audience is having a great, new year. We
Yes,
have a
Happy
lot
New
of great
Year.
things coming in the new year, guys.
Yeah,
So,
and but also we do want to give a shout out. We've been getting a lot of new people joining. I won't say subscribers. I would say a lot of people joining our Can We Talk community, and we really appreciate the
right,
support. And please get involved. Tell us if there's stuff that you want us to talk about, and if it's artists, if it's anything, just please get involved. This is a community. When we're not looking for 100,000 followers or anything like that. We're looking for people to join in our community and help build a discussion about R&B.
right. Yes, welcome.
Yes. So, I mean, one of the things I did want to talk about is, and I was reflecting on Boys to Men, and I
Mm,
remember because I was listening to their Cully High Harmony album, and I remember all four of them. And then recently over Christmas or so, it was just Sean and Wanye just doing the shows. And I was like, wow, they went from four to three to two. Now I know they said Nate, um, I think due to COVID has restricted some of his performances and
right.
stuff. But I just wanted to think about the impact Boys to Men have made on R&B from when they started off in sort of 91 and for where they are now. But I wanted to throw to you just to give your assessment about Boys to Men.
Oh, well, I think that Boyz II Men is a quintessential like male group. I think that they set the trends from the '90s up until today. I feel like um, what Boyz II Men accomplish is basically the standard. It's like the highest of the highest for male R&B groups that
Wow.
every male group after them have wanted to achieve. I remember coming up, they were obviously one of my favorite groups.
Okay.
Coming up as a singer songwriter, in high school and junior high, etc. Like a lot of the guys wanted to be like Boys to Men, like the guys that could sing. So I
Okay.
used to hang around a lot of choirs and drama clubs and things like that
Yeah.
in high school and junior high and college. And every time guys would get together, that will be that format that they want to, they want the bass, they want the tenors, they want they want the harmony, the lush harmonies and things like that. So, but as far as Boyz II Men as a group, I think that when you compare them with other groups, it was something special about them that
Mm.
felt at the time when they first came out
Yeah.
youthful but still old. It kind of traditional. They brought a lot of traditional elements vocally and
Going back to say the Temptations and
exactly.
how Marvin and Blue Top, so that type of barbershop sort of
Mhm.
singing and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
four tops, maybe more
But
so, but yeah, just they really had the harmony thing down. So I really appreciated them for what they were vocally. They has very, two strong leads, Wanye and Sean. Nate, he led some songs too, but or had some songs too. But I think that we recognize Wanye's voice and Sean the most, and
mm,
also Nate, but Nate wasn't a lead. But I'm
yeah,
sorry, not Nate. Mike. He
Mike.
was the
Yeah.
bass. Yeah, bass. Who could forget Mike? So,
Yeah. So
so
back in those early 90s, we had the talking over the smooth R&B tracks. Yeah.
yeah, he had such a smooth voice. It
Yeah,
was like
but that was
everybody wanted that bass. I can't even do it
that's
myself, but
there
everybody
was
wanted that bass to
there,
talk.
yeah, there was a phase where R&B songs where that you'll have somebody speaking with a deep voice. Yeah, how do I do? Yeah, over the hum, during the breakdown, they'll have a
Right.
little short chat and stuff. It seems funny now, but reflecting back then, that was part of the like the end thing and stuff. Um,
Right. Well, I mean, that's when people did that. They referenced that like you're trying to do a mic from Boys to
yeah,
Men. Like everybody referenced that whenever they had a deep voice guy.
yeah,
Even when Ajed had their bass, he was compared to,
mm,
um, Mike. So
yeah,
and they were also they were more than just a vocal group. They actually wrote a lot of their songs on their first and second album, third
okay,
album. they did a lot of writing. They were heavily involved with the creative process as well. So they weren't a manufactured group
Yeah.
that was just put together. They weren't just given songs. Like they actually were organically involved in their own sound. So and
But
they had
what
a
you
couple of members that might have been more. I think Mark Nelson was supposed to be in. Well, he
that's
was originally a member of Boyz II Men, and through whatever happened, he left the group. So you
yeah.
know,
But what are your thoughts about how their image? Because I do remember watching them, and they looked like they were rich prep kids, wearing the sort of the preppy tops and they're very bright and stuff, and they didn't seem like the R&B groups that were like Jodeci um or Intro or the guys who are out there. They didn't. They look more like, oh, they're trying to appease sort of a middle class sort of audience. So what were your thoughts
right.
when you saw that
I
styles and
thought, well, I think that was Michael Bivins said he
okay.
specifically wanted them to have that prep look to make them stand out from the other groups that were out at the time.
Mm,
And I think it worked because it helped them when they had did the crossover hits, when End of the Road blew up like it did,
yeah,
it just helped America digest a black male group, R&B group, in their
yeah,
homes, in their CD and their tape decks, in their CD cases. Like they could accept that, like it was not a big thing because they already kind of looked non-threatening.
yeah,
They weren't,
yeah,
they were just more digestible. And I thought it was genius, and I think it's made them stand out in a good way. Um, so I thought that first album definitely, people forget the first album was very youthful though. Like I think that people always associate them with these slow ballads and
yeah,
mature adult contemporary records, but the first album was very fun. Like they had Motown Philly, which was a hit. Simpin' isn't easy.
yeah.
So they had up tempos records as well. It wasn't just the slow
No,
song.
I actually just yeah, I just listened to the whole first and second and third album over the past week, and I realized how much I really loved the first album. Because when I went to high school in Nigeria, and the up-tempo tracks were much more popular. So even when Jodeci came out,
Yeah.
the second half of the album was more popular than all the um, Forever My Lady and Stay and Come and Talk to Me. Those didn't really
Right.
they weren't popular. So I remember that was one of my first CDs, the Boys to Men first CD album, and I just I loved the excitement and the imagery just looked different. It looked because they didn't seem old. Because
Right.
when you think of Jodeci, they're probably the same age, although Jodeci sort of dress like they were older, dress like they were,
It
like
did.
more hip hop and stuff. But Boys to Men look like, oh, okay, if you, especially if you're in a middle class family, you look at Boys to Men, oh, they actually they're not more. I can relate to these guys, and they seem happy. They seem like the Cosby kids.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yes, they seem like the Cosby
Um,
kids. And then and they did what En Vogue did. I don't know who came out first, but that sense, that harmony, then with the tracks, which was which was really interesting to do that
I
sort
think
of.
In Vogue came out first because I think they came
Okay.
out in 1990, I want to say,
Yeah, yeah,
and Boyz II
yeah,
Men came out in 91.
yeah. So they
So
did
yeah,
they did what En Vogue did, and I think people really said, "Wow, these guys actually can sing." There
yes,
wasn't an over reliance on the music, but it's like, no, they're singers and they've got the music to back them up with. And I think that was something that I had to appreciate about them. When you think about their albums, they had the first was Coolie High Harmony, and then the
mhm,
second one was Two.
right.
What was your thoughts about the second album? Because they got more of Jam and Lewis. I think Tim and Bob were still there, but they
Mm,
kind of slowed it down a little bit. They kind of thought, okay, we need to go to the adult contemporary sort of market, which with Tony Braxton, it was really selling more than
okay.
contemporary R&B. What was your thoughts about that transition?
Well, I mean, outside of music, the first word that comes to my mind is triumph because on their first album, they had the addition of that was the End of the Road, which was off of the Boom. I think it was a
Boomerang,
Boomerang
yeah. So they,
soundtrack,
yeah, yeah,
and it was such a massive hit.
yeah,
And a lot of groups would have buckled under the pressure of following that up, or had trouble following up such a smash hit, especially considering nothing on the first album sounded like End of the Road, and it was an outside song, like it was
Yeah, they tagged it
Babyface.
onto their international release. So they re-released the album with it on. So it wasn't actually on their first release. Yeah.
Right, and the first album was already beloved by R&B fans with songs like "Please Don't
Oh,
Go"
I
and
love that song. Yeah.
I love that song. "Lonely Heart," I love that song.
Yeah, alone. Yeah.
Like they had already had hits in the R&B realm, and I think they were like floating around 2 million copies or something. But then when "End of
Yeah.
the Road" hit, the
Yeah.
album just shot to number
Yeah.
one, sold 10 million copies. So going into the second album, I just think triumph, because they came out the gate with another substantial hit. But I think going into the next album, um, there was a conscious effort to have more serious, sophisticated songs,
Mm.
End of the Road, and of course they enlisted, Babyface, but also Jimmy
Jam
Jam and
and
Terry
Lewis.
Lewis,
Yeah.
who had
Yeah.
such a hit streak with groups like, the Force MDs and New Edition,
Yeah.
obviously, with those beautiful melodies, and they're
Yeah.
really strong. I think that's very underrated. Their gift of melodies, like
Yeah.
Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, had those melodies that just stick in your ear. You can't get rid of.
Yeah. I mean,
But
on Bending
Baby,
Knees is probably one of my top 5 songs ever.
yeah,
And so my favorite Boyz II Men track. And there's something powerful about that. That's one of those. Okay, yeah, yeah. I love a breakup. I love a begging song. That's why like Cry for Me with
well, you
Joe.
like Keep Sweating. That's why you like.
No, he doesn't do
But
it the same way as Sing Cry for Me and
well, no,
Jonesy
he
and
doesn't
on
either.
Bending Knees when I like I'm sorry, please come back to me. It's just like it's yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't really like I'll Make Love to You.
Mhm.
There's something about the song that just wasn't as it just felt and even now if I listen to it, sounds a little bit more boring. I mean,
Right.
um, it just felt like Babyface being a little, I won't say lazy, but it's almost like, yeah, I'll just take a simple melody and do it, and it wasn't as powerful as say on Bended Knees.
Mhm.
But as I said, they started with a ballad, probably saw what Jodeci did, started with a ballad, did another ballad.
But it was a massive hit, though. I mean, even
Yeah,
though
it
you
was number
didn't care
one for
for it,
like 10 weeks.
we can't blow past that.
No,
It
it
was
was,
a
yeah.
massive,
Yeah, it was.
massive hit.
Yeah,
A
it was.
lot of people liked it and connected with the song.
Yeah.
And when On Bended Knee, which I will give, On Bended Knee is probably one of the standout records on that album. Like you
Yeah.
just automatically know it, just
Mm,
like Water Runs Dry. Like those are just
yeah.
two songs that really stand out. But
Mm,
the songs, it's like Babyface came with his A game. He came with his best. Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis came with their best for that album. It was just an awesome like combination. It was just a massive success. So
yeah.
that when I think about that second album, even though the first album was my favorite album, I did like
Yeah.
the second album. But like with most R&B artists, it did kind of, when you hit that pop realm and you start crossing over in this time period, like in the 90s. I mean,
Yeah.
it's different today, but your fans start to, I don't know, things change a little bit for your fans, because now you become this massive success. Now all eyes are on them to, uh, outdo that album. So it was a lot of pressure, and also I think it was a lot of egos going on. So
Yeah. I mean, and what I just remembered, the reason, so End of the Road was done by LA and Babyface. By the time I'll Make Love to You came out, LA had retired from being a producer and he was running the face. So Babyface did it himself. So there was that to me there was a difference in the melody and production if you listen to the two,
oh yeah,
without
yeah.
LA. So that's where I felt like, okay, something is missing. The writing is the writing. No one can take away Babyface's writing. But I think he was still finding his feet as a solo producer without LA doing the percussions and stuff like that. Going back to what you mentioned,
Still finding his speed. What do you mean by that?
because
I mean, the album was a massive success.
no, as I said,
Mhm.
his production stuff subsequently. Think about the Waiting to Exhale album, or even the Soul Food album, his style of production improved because this was his first record without LA, because he's been doing everything with LA for such a long time that trying to find, the writing was the writing, and he got fine vocalists, but he got better as a producer by himself without LA Reid. That was more so it. The album did well. It did very well, 20+ million. It set them apart from, say, the group that they were always compared to at the time was Jodeci. So when Jodeci's what's the name, Diary of a Madman came out and he did his 3 million, that was a success, especially for Uptown. But you could see that Jodeci, Boyz II Men did 20+ million, and they had a very different, they win Grammys, and when your music crosses over, that's when the Grammys say, yep, come on board, we're gonna give you a couple of Grammys here. You're opening at the American Music Awards and World Music Awards. You go around the world and you're becoming a sort of you've taken out of the hood kind of thing. But I still, they never changed. Their music just was more adult contemporary, which at that time.
Well, what's an interesting commentary on that is that living in the moment in that time period, Boyz II Men was just out of the stratosphere. They were bigger than Jodeci. Mary J. Blige, she was doing her thing, but Toni Braxton was bigger than Mary J. Blige. But we fast forward 20 or 30 years later, and the Jodeci name, the Mary J. Blige's name has somewhat outlasted their counterparts, or their so-called rivals or whatever. And I won't say they're rivals, but and now people would think back and say, oh well, of course Mary J. Blige was bigger, but she wasn't. She didn't have the sales, she didn't have the hits. Jodeci, they had hits, but it wasn't Boyz II Men level hits. But it's interesting, the commentary now. So I just think that was interesting. What are your thoughts on something like that? Why do you think that is?
And I always thought about how thanks for watching the show today.
And before we go, remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button.
Yeah, but also remember to hit the notification button so you can be notified when we have a future show.
That too.
All right.
All right.
Thanks, guys. Bye.